So today we're starting our reviews of the Star Wars Expanded Universe. We are starting with the first book of the Thrawn Trilogy, Heir to the Empire by Timothy Zahn. This book is what kicked off the old Expanded Universe. There were other books that had come out by that point, like Splinter of the Mind's Eye and From the Adventures of Luke Skywalker, but this is what really kicked off the expanded universe of all, open the door for so many novels and stuff to be made. This is the first book in the original Thrawn trilogy. There's the new Thrawn trilogy in the new canon, but that's completely different. But basically, this takes place 5 years after Return of the Jedi. The Empire has been pushed back, greatly diminished, but they are now in control by Grand Admiral Thrawn. This Chiss Grand Admiral, he has blue skin. This is actually him on the cover, half of his face there, with his red eyes. And he's a Grand Admiral. The New Republic, so the Rebellion has been reformed into this New Republic, basically. They haven't reformed the Senate yet, and so there's this basically council of members, Leia included, Mon Mothma, Admiral Akbar, Borsk Phalia is another one, he's a Bothan. But they, there's this council running the New Republic right now, but they're still in war with the Empire. The Grand Admiral Thrawn is running, and they're pushing back. Thrawn is commanding from the ship the Chimera, run by Captain Pelion. And basically, to get some help, they go to the Emperor's storehouse on a planet called Wayland that Thrawn finds after a dump from the Obersky Systems library, basically. And they go, and what they find is who Thrawn thinks is the Emperor's guard there, a dark Jedi named Joruus C'baoth. And Joruus C'baoth, he's really old. He's been on Wayland for a while, and he says he killed the guardian of the mountain, the guardian at the Emperor's storehouse. But basically, Thrawn is able to enlist his help because Joruus C'baoth, he wants power, and Thrawn promises that he will be able to get Joruus C'baoth these Jedi twins. And these Jedi twins are Han and Leia's twins. Leia is pregnant with twins that are, of course, sensitive to the Force because she is. She's also being trained by Luke at this time as a Jedi. She's not a full trained Jedi yet, but she's getting there. But Thrawn basically promises that if C'baoth can help them, then he will give them he will get for him the Jedi twins. And Joruus C'baoth agrees to help them. And there's a mention here setting up for later books by Timothy Zahn that this Joruus C'baoth is actually a clone of the original Jedi, Joruus C'baoth, from before the Clone Wars, who was a part of a mission called Outbound Flight, which was a mission where these Jedi went to the unknown regions to try to leave the galaxy, basically, but Thrawn intercepted them and destroyed him, and he knows this is a clone because he killed Joruus C'baoth, at that battle where he destroyed Outbound Flight. But anyway, he's here. They're in this war. Basically, he goes to this planet Merkur, which is currently housing this smuggler named Talon Card, who's running this basically information organization. But what Thrawn is looking for on Merkur is this creature called the Isalamiri. And it's these creatures that basically create this bubble that repel the Force, that basically the Force doesn't work in it. And that's how he's able to basically maintain control over C'baoth, because C'baoth can't use any of his crazy Force abilities against Thrawn, since Thrawn has a bunch of these Salamiri aboard the Chimera, aboard his Star Destroyers and stuff. But basically what Kabath is doing is he's able to reach out to the Force and touch the minds of all the soldiers on the ships in this like Force meld, and basically enhance their strength, kind of like the Emperor would do, or the Emperor did at the Battle of Endor, which Thrawn states in this book, and which is why it was such a crushing defeat once the Emperor died, because that strength that he was giving his troops went away, of course, when Vader killed him. So he gets these Salamiri, but he goes to the planet Niklon, which is currently a place that Lando is at, with his mining operations. He has this mining facility there, basically. He left the Rebel Alliance to basically go back to what he was doing before. But Thrawn steals a bunch of these mining ships from Lando, and it's going to be important later, but he steals that. Thrawn is all about, setting up for later, these hidden strikes that, are, if you're just looking at them as single battles, are not much. They're just hit and runs, but they add up to this big game that Thrawn is playing to. Thrawn wants to get the Jedi twins, that Leia's pregnant with, for Jorus Kabath, so he sends these Nogri, which are these species that work for Thrawn, basically, to capture Leia. One of them is Thrawn's personal bodyguard, Rook, but he sends these Nogri commandos out to capture Leia, and they attack at different points, and Han sends Leia with, Han goes with Leia, or sends Leia with Chewie to Kashyyyk to hide out, but they get attacked even there. But at that point, one of the Nogri, Kabarak, I think I'm pronouncing his name right, is realizes that Leia is the Malariush, the daughter of the Lord Darth Vader, and they were actually loyal to Darth Vader, and Thrawn just kind of inherited that allegiance that the Nogri had, because Vader saved them. That's in the next book, I think. But Leia is the daughter of the Lord Darth Vader. The title called the Malariush, and so the Kabarak respects Leia, and so he's thinking they have this all wrong. They can't, harm Leia and stuff, and so Kabarak wants to go back to his Nogri people and see if they can make a deal with Leia. Anyway, Luke in his X-Wing is intercepted by Thrawn, and gets attacked. Luke pulls this maneuver that he's able to escape, but it kind of wrecks his hyperdrive while he's in hyperspace, and he jumps out of hyperspace in basically the middle of nowhere. He's stuck, no hyperdrive. He's left there to fix it, but he gets found by Talon Card in his ship, and is picked up by one of Card's workers, I suppose, his second in command, basically, named Mara Jade. And they take him back to Merkur. And incidentally, Han and Lando are also going to Merkur to make a business deal with Card, because the New Republic is trying to enlist the help of all these smugglers, since they don't have enough ships. They're just a fledgling government to run all these shipping lines throughout their regions and stuff, and so they're hiring the help of smugglers and their ships. And so Han and Lando go to Merkur to make a business deal with Card without even knowing that Luke is there. Luke and Mara go to hide in the forest. Now, Mara hates Luke. Mara Jade used to be the Emperor's hand. She worked for Emperor Palpatine. She was an Imperial agent. And so once Luke, defeated Palpatine, it destroyed her job, basically. And she's now lost without it, right? And So it basically destroyed her life, and so now she hates Luke, because the official word is that Luke killed the Emperor, defeated the Emperor, and few people, especially Mara, know that it was actually Vader that did that act, that defeated Palpatine. But Mara has these, I guess, visions, or she hears the voice of the late Palpatine in her head through the Force, who's always screaming to her, "You will kill Luke Skywalker," and she's always getting these impulses that she has to kill Luke and fulfill the Emperor's final command to her, that she must kill Luke Skywalker. The thing is, she can't do it. She keeps getting herself into situations where she needs Luke alive in order for her. They have to work together in order to survive through the forest with these animals called the wolf kills and all this kind of stuff. Anyway, Thrawn ends up on Merkur as well. And Han and Lando, of course, need to hide and stuff. Thrawn sends a stormtrooper dispatched to scout the forest and stuff. They don't find him, of course. Anyway, long story short, eventually Thrawn goes to attack the Sluisvan shipyards, one of the New Republic's main shipyards, and he goes to attack that. Luke and Han are on their way to the Sluisvan shipyards to repair Luke's X-Wing, which was damaged in his earlier hyperdrive maneuver, to which they come upon this battle. And Wedge is there as well, Wedge Antilles. And it's this big battle, and that's where Thrawn uses those mining ships that he stole from Lando from Niklan, actually, and so they're able to fight, and I believe Thrawn steals, if I remember correctly, Thrawn steals a bunch of ships from the Sluisvan shipyards. Basically, it's another hit and fade. They attack, they wreck the shipyard, they steal a bunch of ships, and they pull out and they go. And that's where the book leaves off. It leaves off for the next book, Dark Force Rising. And that's where it is. You know, Thrawn hit them hard. He's taken out one of their main shipyards. He's done a bunch of damage. And, you know, the New Republic's struggling to start out anyway. Another thing about the book, too, is toward the beginning, Ben Kenobi leaves. So he's gone on to the Force. He can no longer communicate with Luke. He communicates for the last time early in the book. It's, you know, assumed that Yoda has as well. Yoda can no longer connect with Luke. He's gone on to the Force. What's very great about this book, you know, because when this book was written, only the original trilogy had been made. And the author, Timothy Zahn, you know, given the task of writing the story post Return of the Jedi, he could have easily made another villain like Palpatine or like Vader. And I guess there is one like that with Joruus C'baoth, but the main villain really is Thrawn. And Thrawn is a very different character than Vader or the Emperor, in which he's not, you know, physically powerful with the Force and can do all these crazy Force magic stuff. No, he's just a tactical genius, and he can outsmart anyone. I mean, just his introduction, the first scene we see him in, he sacrifices a couple of ships to learn what kind of species he's going up against, and then he uses an attack that the species can't, you know, their minds aren't big enough to handle, and he's able to destroy them. And he researches and studies his enemy through art. If he understands their art, he understands their culture and all of that. He's a genius. And that's why he's so dangerous, because he can outsmart the enemy. That's Thrawn. He's a very different villain than what we saw in the original trilogy. And that's very good, because then it could have, if you just mimic the original trilogy villains, basically have a rehash, and, you know, the story it's dry and all of that. But Here you have Thrawn, amazing villain, amazing character, and this book just sets up the Thrawn trilogy, sets up the expanded universe so well. It's one of my favorite, definitely my favorite in the old expanded universe books. Probably my second favorite Star Wars book overall. It's a fun read. It's great. I personally rate it 4.8 out of 5 stars. That is my rating I am slapping on this book. And yeah, I definitely would recommend. It's a great book to try to get into the expanded universe, of course, because it was the first book really in the expanded universe. So if you're trying to get into the expanded universe, this would be the first book I would recommend reading. The whole Thrawn trilogy, actually, but of course this is the first one. Yeah, that is Heir to the Empire, and that's coming soon. We'll have part 2 with Dark Force Rising, part 2 to this trilogy, and then we'll have part 3, The Last Command. So that has been my review on Heir to the Empire by Timothy Zahn.